Today we are in the Motor City of Europe, Stuttgart, Germany. Over 50% of the population work in this industry. And it's no secret whose town it is, but you know all the car makers are here along with their talent building and designing vehicles. Well, this week we are here to witness what they are calling an historic moment for a vehicle that really is the heart of the company. It first was built in 1963, and this week the 1 millionth Porsche 911 will come off the assembly line in nearby Zuffenhausen. Now, some may say other companies, let's say Volkswagen, can build 1 million Golfs in a year, so what's the big deal? Well, think about it. This is a vehicle that for 54 years, the design has basically been the same, but it's a huge success, which other companies can only envy. So let's find out the secret to the success, or maybe it's not really a secret, some like to call it, maybe it's as simple as the magic of the 911.
For us, it's a very special moment to celebrate the 1 millionth of the 911. It's not such a big number because numbers are not so important for Porsche. Compare it to other models in the car industry. But for a very exclusive sports car, it's a very fantastic and emotional moment to celebrate this number of cars.
It's a very important day for me because it shows how important this 911 is for this brand and how successful it is over all these years, more than 50 years. Every year about 30,000 911s are sold all over the world. And it seems that this concept is quite successful.
You look at the shape of the car, and there's nothing else you need to talk about.
1 million cars today is not a big number, but it's a big number for a sports car, and especially for a sports car which is produced for more than 50 years without a change in concept, and even without a change in shape of the car.
It's probably never change a winning team. I mean, why should it change something which is even in children's eyes already perfect? So I think this is where we did a lot of changes to the cars over the years. If you see the measurements of the cars, you know that there's a lot of changing came up with the cars. But since I'm not a designer, just can tell from my point of view that this very specific shape of the car, known by children up to the adults, is something you shouldn't change.
You know, when I return home from Germany, I know I'll be asked the question, Brad, what was your favorite place to visit? This is it. I am in the parking lot at the Porsche factory, and I'm literally surrounded by 1992 Porsches of all colors and models. And oh yes, I've also decided who I want to be if I ever come back in another life. I want to be a test driver right here, because he's the guy that gets to drive these cars every day. It was 25 years ago when we were last here at the Porsche factory in Zuffenhausen, Germany. And as you can see, it was a pretty simple process. 90% of the car was hand-built, and there wasn't a robot in sight. And back in those days, this company was in trouble. Sales were down around the world, but especially in the all-important American market. There were rumors of bankruptcy, rumors of Porsche trying to find a buyer. But then things turned around for the company. They moved into profitability with help from a car company you may have heard of, Toyota.
Yeah, remember at that time we had a CEO, Mr. Wiedeking at that time. He invited Toyota colleagues to have a look on our production facility, and we took their knowledge to make many improvements. Our production times dropped and the quality rises up, you know, JD Power #1 for the 911, and it worked really good. But, of course, with the help of the Toyota guys.
We are still producing our cars in the same line where we produced our cars 50 years ago, but it's changed a lot. With new technologies of production, we improved the quality, put in a lot of innovations. But what is important for us, to be on the traditional place where we produced the first 911, produced the 1 millionth 11, and the combination in between tradition and future is a success point of Porsche.
The museum is very modern. It is not this storage of the ashes. It's not about what all was in the past. It's also about what's gonna last and the way to the future. It's not about staying there where we are, because staying is not good for the development of a company and for the brand. So we always try to develop, and you're always gonna see that in the museum too.
And I think we will have the next 10 or 15 years a combination of very attractive combustion engines and new electric engines, and therefore we continue to produce the 911 with very puristic sports cars like our customers love since the 60s.
You know, the 911 has come a long way since 1963 when Porsche had but one model. Fast forward, today there are 25 variations of this iconic brand. But you may remember when Porsche was criticized, even by some of us here on Motoring TV, for building a truck, as in the Cayenne. Well, the Cayenne and the Macan have been hugely successful, and it's the increased sales and that success that has really helped make sure that this 911 not only survives, but grows. And I know I'm not alone when I say, amen to that. Now, we found some other cool things while here in Germany, but we've run out of time, so we'll save them for another episode as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.